By the time Epstein left college in the early 1970s, he was in his early 20s with no degree and a reputation among friends for being good at math and good at talking. In 1974, the Dalton School in Manhattan hired him to teach math and physics, even though he didn't have a bachelor's degree. Dalton was an elite private school. I know. An elite private school on the Upper East Side with a student body drawn from some of the wealthiest families in New York, including executives, lawyers, and financiers. The headmaster at the time, Donald Barr, had studied at Columbia, served in the wartime OSS, which I think later became the CIA, and
Mm.
returned to academic life before taking over at Dalton. Barr was known for hiring young teachers with unconventional resumes, and Epstein fit that pattern. 21 years old, from Brooklyn, no diploma, but confident in front of a classroom.
Yeah, the jump from dropout to Dalton teacher feels like someone skipped a step in the montage.
Yeah, for real. Now, I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes here, but I will provide some background on some of these characters that I found was interesting.
Okay.
So, Barr's own family, the guy who hired him, would cross path with Epstein's story again in a different way. His son, William Barr, Bill Barr, moved from Columbia to the CIA, then into senior justice roles, and eventually twice held the job of Attorney General, first under President George H.W. Bush, and then later under President Donald Trump. When the federal system took its second, harder look at Epstein decades later after Dalton, the Justice Department was led by the same William Barr, whose father had once decided that a young, degreeless math tutor from Brooklyn belonged in front of Dalton's classrooms.
Wow. It's not that they planned it, but the symmetry is weird.
Mhm.
Bar at the start and then bar at the end. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
strategic.
it's there's something I don't know what it is, but I found it interesting, so I've added it in here.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Former students remember him as a young teacher who blurred boundaries. He dressed in a way that felt casual for the school, played piano at gatherings, and sometimes talked with students about subjects that had little to do with the day's lessons. In yearbooks from 1975 and 1976, he appears alongside veteran faculty members who had formal academic credentials, an odd match that stood out more in hindsight once his later crimes became public. Among his students were children of Bear Stearns executive Alan Ace Greenberg, a connection that opened a door into Wall Street that would shape the rest of his adult life.
Again, it's like he skipped a very important step. Dalton was like a cheat code into, rich people Wall Street.
Yeah, like he
Mhm.
had no experience at all
Damn. It's
in Wall
giving
Street.
like Pisces energy, right? Like maybe that's the Pisces influence in his second house, like the no boundaries and just kind of being able to chameleon.
He chameleoned his ass off.
Yeah. Mhm.
1976, roughly after 2 years at Dalton, Epstein left teaching and joined Bear Stearns as a junior assistant to a floor trader. I will say that he was let go from Dalton
Yeah.
because of weird behavior.
Oh,
So,
okay.
yeah, he didn't just leave; he was let go.
Weird behavior with students.
Yeah, yeah,
Ugh,
not
ugh.
yeah.
You
I
don't
didn't
say.
what? No, I think those conversations that he would have that didn't involve like the day's lessons that you would typically have with a
Mm,
normal teacher,
yeah.
um, started kind of pushing boundaries a little bit, and he was let
Mm.
go.
So bringing up cannibalism was not really something he should have been no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We cannot confirm.
No,
Don't charge it.
no, we're not charging that one.
Nah.
But anyway, so he meets this Alan Ace Greenberg,
Mm,
and he opens this Wall Street door for him. So he's now a junior assistant to a floor trader. That move shifted him from chalkboards and lesson plans to phone order, tickets, and the firm's hectic trading floor. Bear Stearns at that point was known for rewarding aggressive employees and for giving opportunities to people who did not come with traditional Ivy League backgrounds. Go figure. Epstein started at the bottom, learning how orders were executed and how the firm handled trades for large clients. Within a very short time, he moved into the special products division where he worked on options and other complex financial instruments and began advising some of the firm's wealthiest clients on strategies that reduced their tax exposure.
Every time there's a fork in the road, he ends up on the path that leads to more money and more power, it seems.
Uh-huh.
He's
Yep.
very lucky.
Epstein advanced quickly inside Bear Stearns. By 1980, when he was 27, the firm made him a limited partner,
Mm.
which is like insanely fast.
Yeah, I mean, how did he earn that, you know?
4 years, and he's a
Yeah.
limited partner for this place.
Crazy. Like
That's
he's good with his words or something, like, or he's promising things. I don't know
I,
what he's doing, but
he's just jumping and jumping and jumping. So he's a limited partner already, and it only took him four
yeah,
years.
he's a hustler.
And this promotion gave him a share of a bonus pool that could reach into the millions of dollars in strong years, which was a sharp jump from what he had earned as a private school teacher.
Yeah.
Around the same time, magazines that covered finance and lifestyle singled him out as a young Wall Street success story, describing him as a fast talking, analytically gifted trader who was especially good with high net worth clients. For a man who had left two colleges without a degree, the combination of a partnership title and public praise signaled that he could climb rapidly into the world of serious money.
Yeah, it seems like this is the beginning of his, guy with friends in the right rooms persona starts to like kick
Uh huh.
off.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another little side tangent here
Mm.
that I thought was interesting. Bear Stearns was a place where careers didn't just stop at Bear Stearns in finance. Colleagues who passed through the same firm went on to run agencies and global institutions, including a woman named Carol Bellamy, who later led the Peace Corps and UNICEF,
Hmm.
and a David Malpass, who eventually served as the president of the World Bank.
And these are people who don't have like credentials and stuff.
I don't know their background, but they worked at
Mm.
Bear Stearns. So they at
Okay.
some point, and I think that Carol Bellamy worked at Bear Stearns around the same time that Epstein did. David
Okay.
Malpass, I think, was before him, but
Mhm.
afterwards, they just immediately jump into these like global institutions,
Okay. So same rapid like incline of Jeffrey.
more or less.
Yeah.
It's just interesting that they held such like high ranking positions, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's neither here nor there. I just found it interesting.
It's very interesting.
Epstein spent his late 20s in that environment, working under Greenberg and sharing a firm culture with people whose paths would later run through Washington and international development.
It's one of those places where everyone you meet ends up in charge of something. And so he's probably soaking up that proximity like the whole time.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
also
It's
giving like when someone like who hasn't been acting very long all of a sudden gets huge. It does things to your ego and it
Yeah.
does things to, right? Like you think like, oh shit, I already made it. Like
Uh-huh.
it it changes the chemistry in your brain.
Yeah. And I think that all that started with him skipping them grades, but
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
anyway, the way his time at Bear Stearns ended hinted at the kinds of trouble that would follow him later. In 1981, the firm and some of its employees came under Securities and Exchange Commission scrutiny, that's SEC, connected to a possible violation of Regulation D, which governs certain kinds of private security offerings.
Mm.
Epstein was questioned as a part of that process, and the firm disciplined him internally. He has said, however, that he denied wrongdoing and that he chose to resign the from the agency because he was offended by the investigation. He was offended by the investigation. Okay.
There's that ego.
What is clear is that he left Bear Stearns soon after the inquiry, giving up his partnership role. The separation was not fully explained to outsiders, but he remained on good terms with senior figures at the firm and continued to do business with Bear Stearns as a client after he moved into his next phase. And there were
Sure.
reports that Alan Ace Greenberg, actually gave him some clients after he left the firm. So he's in like still great relations with
Right.
leadership because they're even just feeding him stuff when he moves now into like a more consultant